Okay, this is as close as we're gonna get.
This is
So
what a 27-year-old looks like. This is what a 30-year-old looks like.
I'm not fucking 30. By the way, I had someone tell me today I look 24.
Was it a woman?
No, it wasn't a woman. He also is a gentleman in the past.
Was he dating you?
Anyhow, all right.
Yeah, he wanted it.
Calm down here. All right, so here we are. Yesterday we had a rough day. We're back on track today. Part of the reason I posted that video was so that people didn't think I was a monster.
So you didn't even do it for me.
No,
you did it for you.
I did do it for you. I just wanted people to think I'm a monster. It just worked out that you were randomly recording, and that was all. Okay, so up on the left-hand screen here, we have a cheat sheet to help April out with what we were.
This is not basic.
That is. That's as basic as we're gonna get. Xeno Coding, welcome. I feel like you're always on Twitch, man. I like that.
Hello.
Yes. All right, so
What?
there's your state.
This is what I know. What is this?
Remember bracket notation? How to call a function call, a method call, which is similar, an array, an object. So Walter White, we got a celebrity in here today. All right, so this is your cheat sheet. It's the simplest one I could find. Everything else would just be names of things and wouldn't help you. It's going to be. I have the kappa. All right. So let me see what you went over today. I got pulled up on Codecademy. So today, April's been having an issue retaining what she's been doing, so we decided to downgrade to Codecademy. I say downgrade just because I think you got the variables. What did you get to in here?
Yeah, so I did the first two on that one, and then I did the first one on JavaScript.
Okay, so you got introduction to JavaScript and variables done. Let's see.
And also JavaScript.
Wait, we're not counting that one.
No, because that one was the hardest.
Yes.
I want to count it.
So, let's see what is in here.
It went over a lot of what
Okay.
you were teaching.
Yeah, alright, so types. Let's start here. I'm going to look at what's on here, and I already know what's in here without looking at it. So, write all the types that... Okay, so, bricks, TC, VC. Alright, so we have the string. Not numbers, number. Single. And what are we leaving out? Imagine a coin flip is how I explain it usually. Put this.
Is it Boolean or?
Yeah, Boolean.
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 Boolean. Boolean.
Boolean. Yeah, let me pull this up so people can see it a little bit better. All right, so
Boolean.
types, good. Now, how do we print something out in the console? You gotta try and move this out of the way.
You too.
Stop fucking with me. All right, so how do we print something out? What's the function called? All right, and what? Say I wanted to print out Dylan, how would I do that?
Do you have a variable, or is it just Dylan?
Just Dylan. You can pass it in directly. So what do we call this when we are passing something into a function? What's the word for that? We're passing in an argument that for the parameter. Argument is Dylan. The parameter, let's say it was like num or something like that. So you're passing in that value.
You just said argument.
I said, yeah, the argument gets passed into the parameter. So Dylan is the argument, and the parameter would be where that function is written log. There is a parameter that could be maybe be called string value or something like that.
In the parameter?
To the parameter. All right, so
Future April, remember this.
it's an A. It's not parameter, parameter. All right, cool. All right, so that's how we console log math operators. What are our math operators? Make sure I don't forget any here. Good. Those are the basic ones. Perfect. I believe there's more. So, what does this last one do?
Gives you the remainder.
Good. So if I say 10 modulo 7, what do we have? What's our answer? 10 modulo 7 is equal to what?
What was it?
10 modulo 7.
I don't know. Have the computer run it.
No, come on. It gives us the it gives us the remainder. So what's our value? If we were to
It would give us 4.
Try.
Right? 7 and a 10? 3.
Yeah, it gives us 3. Good. All right. So good. So you got the modulo.
I should sing all my answers. Woo!
All right. Now, what does random do? How does random work?
Random.
Math.random.
Yeah, so you can do math dot random. Shit, I forgot what that looks like. But you can also do math floor dot no math random. Oh my god, my back. I forgot what that rest of that looks like.
All right. So what does math.random do?
It generates a random number from 0 to 1.
Good. So, you know what math.random do? What does math.floor do?
Gives you a whole number.
It can give you a whole number, yes.
What do you mean it can't?
Well, it can go as many decimal places as you want when you provide a parameter into it. So maybe you want, yes, it gives you a whole number, sure. All right, so good. All right, so you're remembering some of this. How do you clean the erasers anyhow?
I don't know. Anyone know how to clean an eraser?
All right, so show me a single line comment and a multi-line comment. Today she is working on we're doing review to start off, and then we're going to push on to other things. So we've changed our learning pattern. Usually I would do a lesson and then she would go and study. Now she is studying beforehand. She's working on the Learn JavaScript section of Codecademy. The free Codecamp section was a little bit too hard, a little bit too much. So now we're jumping back to Codecademy, changing it up. Good. So you have multi-line comment, single line comment. Why might we use comments? Let's provide some context.
This is to denote your
Intention.
Your text.
Yeah, it's
And this is to block out code if you're trying to.
yes,
do whatever
you
with
can
it.
do that. You can do both. But yes. So usually you might want to put a comment, single or multi-line, to say what your intention is, or to save some code that you don't want to erase. Sugar water in order to clean the whiteboard? That sounds like bullshit.
Troll.
Alright, so good. That was the first section. You did excellent, love. So let me look at the variables, see what the headings are here. Now, did you have any questions while you were going through this?
Just the if-else statement. I'm still struggling with that one. But that wasn't on the two ones that I did. It was on the JavaScript that I was doing.
Okay, so when dealing with if and else statements, what that does is called control flow. It essentially controls the flow of your code. So you know how we said your code goes from top to bottom?
Mm-hmm.
It does, but what happens is that when it hits a line that has an if statement or something like that, it evaluates that statement and decides if it's going to jump out of its normal flow and skip over it or not. Okay? So
I don't understand the logic inside of them.
okay, so let me give you an example. So what's the point of an if statement? Let's start there. Do you know?
No.
The point of an if statement is to find out if something is true or false, and then we run code based off of that. So if I say, let's use a
So it's to evaluate a true or false statement.
it's to evaluate a statement that will evaluate two true or false. So, but in this case, let's take a coin flip, right? So if we flip a coin, do you have a coin?
No.
We don't have a coin in this whole house?
There might be.
All right, let me get a coin. I think I know where it is. All right. So I have a quarter here. All right. So what happens here is, let's start off by creating a variable. How do we create a variable? Tell me.
Var.
All right, the
Keyword.
keyword. That's the keyword. Now what?
That's the keyword?
This is the keyword.
Okay.
And then the name.
Name.
We'll call it quarter.
My coin.
Coin's better. There you go. Shorter. Coin. And what do you want to set coin to?
2.
Yep. We'll set it to something in a second. This is bad notation. We wouldn't have this. We'll do this. We'll leave it undefined. So we're creating it, but it's undefined right now.
Okay.
And what we're going to say is, and we'll say line 1, we'll skip line 2, and then we'll say line 3, and we'll say, create an if statement. It says if coin is equals to head, run some logic, and run what's in between here and here. And we'll say this is line 4 and line 5. So, and we'll say we'll print it out, right?
Console log.
We'll console log it out. On line 2, we'll assign a value of coin. Notice how we don't have the keyword.
Yeah, because it's already stored.
And let's assume that we're getting this from the user input. Now, if we flip a coin and it's tails, we assign the value of coin to tails. So what happens when the if statement here evaluates, hey, is coin equals to heads?
No.
False, right?
False.
So does it run the console log?
No.
Does it run anything in here?
Not yet.
No, and it
What
just
goes in the console log?
H. Alright. So the reason that if statements exist is because it adds logic to your code. It adds a way of your code flowing, because all your computer knows how to do is run top to bottom, and when it's running top to bottom and it hits this line, it needs to say, hey, we get you're going top to bottom, but do you want to run everything top to bottom? If we wanted to console log H every time, we wouldn't need an if statement. If we wanted to add two numbers together every time, we wouldn't need an if statement. So it's to add logic to our code. And then same thing with the else if and the else. So what would say where you wanted to use an else if or an else with our logic we have here? Remember heads, it's heads or it's tails. So what do we do what would be the best way of doing tails?
Else.
Good. Now why would be doing an if statement or an else if be bad? It would still work, but why would this would be, why would, it would still work logically and the code would run and it would work, but why would it be bad convention?
Because you're not evaluating a statement anymore. You already know that it's false.
Yeah, because if it's not true here, it has to be false, meaning it's tails, so we can go ahead and write an else statement and print it out. Now we could write else if and say else if equals to tails, but that would require it to evaluate. It's bad convention. It probably runs slower in the background. But this is why we have if, else if, and else, because we need to apply our logic to that, because the computer only knows what to do top to bottom. And so now we're kind of getting it to jump around and run things sometimes instead of running everything always. Okay, so let's take it up one more. I'll give you another example here. Or I'll give you an example and you see if you can figure it out. Oh, by all means, go ahead, young Jedi. All right. So.
You're the best mime ever. That's great.
All right, so here we have 3 essential oils. See the trick, guys. We have 3 essential oils. So let's assume that we're going to get an input. What do you want to call it? Call our variable. Good. And we'll assign a value off the get-go. Sinus clear is the value. No? You can just put oil 1.
Just me sounding that shit out.
Alright, cool. So what do we have so far? We have oil 1. Now using we have 3 oils, oil 1, oil 2, and oil 3. And the user, I'm telling you, hey, I want this oil. Now what would be using the if-else control flow statements the best way of writing that? I just want you to tell me back what oil I requested. I don't want you to tell me all the oils, just the one that I told you I want, which is, in this case, oil 1.
Well, okay. If you just want that, then when you just do a console log dot oil 1.
Yes, but I'm trying to talk about if or else if.
Yes!
Alright, how about this? I want it to say back to me, are you sure you want oil 1, not oil 2 and 3? Or are you sure you want oil 2, not oil 1 and 3?
Ugh. Okay, so this is where I get tripped up.
Alright. So oil is the value that's our placeholder, right? That's the parameter that's coming in the case. The num1, if you remember from yesterday. So what are we checking here? We're checking the value of oil. What value is it? Are we checking oil 1, oil 2, oil 3? It doesn't matter, however you want to set it up, but we're checking to see for each one of our oils using an if, else if, and else, and returning a different value.
Can I put console log right here?
Yes, because it's within the scope, right? Even though you haven't ended the scope. And you can just write console log. You don't have to return. You don't have to actually write the stuff in there for the sake of the argument. So we'll just assume you can put ... in there for the time being. Triple equals in JavaScript means, so there is double equals, which is the value equivalent saying, hey, is the value of the variable correct? So let's use a number. So we'll say value 5, value number 5. So if that's a string 5, it's true. If it's a number 5, it's true. Now if you use triple equals, what that is checking is type and value. So in that case, if we were to say number 5 is triple equals to string 5, it would return false. Because even though the value is the same, the type is incorrect. That's what triple equals is there for. And it's just good convention to use it in general. Oh, look at you. Look at you trying to show out. All right. So there is one thing wrong with your code up here. I'll give you a hint. It's somewhere between line 1 and line 4.
Error. What's undefined? I think it's right here.
All right. So read over your code. Start going line by line, because this is what happened earlier when I was helping you. You need to start being able to spot your own bugs, or you're gonna have a real hard time learning code. So go line 1. What do we know about setting on variables?
Var oil. So you need the variable, which is the keyword, the name oil, and then you can give it a value. So oil 1.
Okay.
And that's the end of that.
Good.
So now oil exists. So if oil.
So wait, if we're checking a statement, right? That's going to evaluate to true or false. Good. You got it. Now, let's say that we wanted 2 other cases. So we did case 1, oil 1, and then there's oil 2 and oil 3. What would be the natural progression to continue on from there? Oops.
Wouldn't it be an if else?
There's no such thing as if
or else if.
Why?
Because it would need to evaluate again.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be true or false when you have 3. There's something going on in my brain, but I don't know how to explain it.
So I said the object of my instructions, or the objective of my instructions is I want to print one thing out for each value. So if it's oil 1, I only want one print. If it's oil 2, I want a separate print. If oil 3, I want another. So based off that, how might you write your logic using an if, else if, or else?
So my next one would be an else if.
Why?
Because I would need to evaluate it again.
Okay, but why not use an if?
Bad convention?
Good. Because what's going to happen if this fails, what happens if this is true? It prints this out.
Mm-hmm.
If this is an if, it's still going to check it, right?
Right.
So instead, our code runs faster by using an else if that we don't have to check.
So we don't have to check this again?
Yeah, so let's say this is oil 1, and we were to write an if oil is equal to oil 2, instead of else if, it would actually run that if statement again and check it.
Oh, so
that if
even
statement.
if this was true, it would still run this.
If it's an if statement, yes.
Gotcha.
So
That's
based
great.
off our instructions, and that's okay if that's what you want to do, but based off our instructions and the reason for it, there's no reason to do that.
Right, okay.
Okay, so let's do our else if.
Yeah.
We're going to have a fun one next, baby. We're going to do Boolean comparison operators. All the goodness.
Okay, so else if oil is equal to oil 2, damn it. What do you want 2 to say?
Nothing. We'll just assume that you're doing here. And so what would we'll just put ... and we'll assume that you put something similar. So because you did good, you concatenated your stuff.
Yeah,
nicely.
concatenated.
What's concatenate mean?
Put together.
Put together, yes. So you can concatenate strings just like that. Good. So
And numbers.
and numbers, yes.
Numbers.
So here's a question for you.
Wait, I still gotta finish.
Okay. So good. So explain to me why you use an if, an else if, and then an else.
Okay, so the first one, because of your request, you want a new.
I only want one printout.
You want a new printout.
No, I just want the one printout when the value comes in. I don't want it to have to check all the code. I think I just said why you did that. Okay. All right. You get why. So you did it.
Yeah, well, you saying that I want it to run through one code for whatever I put in makes me say that, okay, if that's the case, then I can only have one statement evaluated at a time for whatever you put in. Thus, for good convention, you use the if. And if you put in a statement that doesn't comply with my first if statement, I'm going to need a new statement. So then I would use the else if statement to be evaluated. And since there's only 3 oils that I can use to evaluate, I can add my last one in for an else if these 2 are not true.
And so if what would else be in this case? It would be, what would oil be in the else case?
Oil 3.
Good. All right. Let's see if I can find a chart.
Oh, my shoulders are killing me.
All right. All right, love. So, what's today's lesson? We are reviewing things until they start clicking, and now I'm going to give her a pseudo math quiz with booleans, I suppose. So what's a boolean again?
True or false?
Good. And now we're going to work with operators. So I'm going to write a couple things, and Alright, here we have 6 things testing if you understand comparison operators. The first one says, let's bring this up a little bit so you can see. Yeah, the orange sucks on there. Is true equal to true? In this case. True double equals to true. String true.
Oh, string true?
Do you see? You can see. I know you can see.
Yeah.
So is that true or false?
It's true.
Okay. Is true not equals to string true?
False.
Good, because it is, right?
Well, that's assigning a value.
No. Not equals. Assigning values with the equals is the assignment operator. You assign values
No, it's fine.
with
It's
the
just
equal.
What is that?
Not equals? Not equals to.
Oh, I thought that was part of the true word.
So is true not equals to string true?
No, it's true. False.
Which one?
What I just said is false. Because it is equal.
Good. So is true triple equals to true?
True.
Good. Now is true not equals to false?
True.
Why is it true?
Because it's not equal to false.
Good. And is false not equals to true?
True.
Good. And finally, is false not equals to false?
False.
Good. Yeah, we're in the process of packing up and moving, so things are a little messy here, guys. I apologize.
Because April needs to clean the fucking house first.
Alright. Good. So let's look at what else you covered today. So we did else if statements, logical operators. Draw me a switch statement. You did switch statements. Don't look at the switch statement.
No, I mean, we decided that I could get a cheat sheet. Go back, because I don't remember the switch statements.
So this Python, no, we've been going up. We're doing JavaScript. We've been doing JavaScript for 20 days. We're not ready to switch over to Python. Cool beans. What's up, man? All right. So, what does the switch statement do? Let's start there before you start.
I don't know. I don't remember. Where are you?
I'm in the same sections that you said you did today, which is the first 2 sections of Learn JavaScript.
Yeah, but I didn't see that.
I think someone got caught in a lie.
No, I did the first 2. Where is yours? The one that you brought up?
Yeah.
I did those.
Okay, we'll have to check out too. We'll worry later about the switch statement.
The moon phase? Yeah, I remember the moon phase.
Oh, man. All right, baby. So we'll say that's good for the review. Do I live in Washington? No, man.
I wish.
Although maybe one day, because my brother he's gonna live in Portland, Oregon, or maybe Sierra Leone, or wherever the fuck he ends up. Some random place. Okay. Do you remember functions?
Barely.
Write down how you think you define a function. The function can be called add. We're gonna add 2 variables, just like we did before.
That's all I got.
Okay, so what is that?
Keyword.
Okay, so what normally comes after the keyword when we're defining things?
The name.
Good.
Defining it.
Good. So we'll call it add. What contains the parameters? No, we don't. We're not assigning a value to function. We are creating a function. Almost. So, remember functions. What do functions do again? Functions store our code so that we can call it again later.
Okay.
So it's one of the ways we make sure we don't hard code things.
Yeah.
And
so
that we
you
can
use
reuse
it over and over.
Exactly. Just like my charm. Oh. Every day I be charming you. Where you going? Thank you, Juan. She appreciates you saying happy birthday. Alright, guys.
Did you grab the lid?
I grabbed the lid, don't worry. I bought the markers. I gotta make sure they stay good.
Yeah, right.
All right.
You never make sure of that.
Alright.
Thank you, Juan.
Okay, so this is how you set up a function. These are optional, and what do we call these again?
Parameters.
Good.
Parameters.
And why do we have our curly braces? Why do we have them with if statements?
Because they run the...
Because it defines an area where it runs. Defines the scope.
You're drinking mine.
Oh, sorry. So, this defines the scope. Just like the if statement defines scope. Just like the for loop defines the scope.
Okay, so local scope.
Yes. You just refer to it as scope. There's scope and then...
There's local scope and then there's global scope.
Okay, we'll see.
Learn your scopes.
There's function scope and there's block scope also.
Really?
So,
is this a function scope?
yes, but it refers to variables, how variables are floated. So there's var, if you want to get into it, there's var, let, const. And then there's, var is what we're working with because that's ES5. That's called function scope. So those values will get hoisted.
Hoisted.
They'll get hoisted to where it is in the function. So the reason that we use let is it refers to block scope, meaning it will only take place in the block.
Interesting.
Well, say there's a block right here and we use a let will be here. But if we use var inside here, it'll actually be available down below it as well. So that is why a lot of in ES6 let came around, and then constants for basically creating constant variables, even though it's not a full always constant. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. Teach you about callbacks and promises. I'm over here explaining functions. I don't think we're ready to start jumping into
promises.
Callback
that
and
sounds
promises.
promising. A callback? Promise?
Alright, baby.
All day.
So we have our function add. Keyword, name, optional parameters, and then the scope of our function. How do we call a function? Or we want to use the function, we want to call it. How do we do that?
What would you say, do we use a console log?
No, that prints stuff.
How do you call a function?
Do you remember what it means to call a function?
Mm-mm.
It means we use the function. So, similar to how we use a variable, we just had to write its name. Except a function has these parentheses after, at which point you could pass in some parameters.
Yeah.
So we can call it again and
But
again.
that wouldn't be inside this scope, yeah?
No, it wouldn't. This is separate. Imagine this is a line below.
Okay.
Sorry for that. So, if I said, hey, I have this add function and all I wanted to do is add two numbers, what do we use to do that?
Oh. That's not an array, right?
No, this is just a 1 and a 2 being passed in. You have parameter 1 plus parameter 2. I want you to return.
Yeah. Okay. A plus B. I forgot what goes here.
So how do we return values?
Oh.
Good. All right. So let's take it up a notch. I'm gonna.
No.
No. We don't have to.
No, I'll tell you. Let's see what you got.
All right. It should be review because I'm doing the same exact problem we've done a couple days in a row now.
Ugh.
So. Instead of passing in 2 numbers, I want to pass in an array
Oh yeah, I knew
of
it.
2 numbers, which is 3 and 4. How do we change our function so that it works with that? And we change the setup of the function as well. So how do we change it?
I think this is wrong.
Yes, it's wrong. Where does my array exist?
Nowhere.
So what do we have to change about the setup of our array? Not just what's in it, but we change the setup. How many parameters do we have in here?
2.
How many parameters do we have in here? 1. It's just a single array.
Oh.
So, how many parameters do we have in our function setup?
2.
How many parameters do we have here?
1.
Okay, so what is this?
An array.
How do we access values in arrays?
Through 0.
With indexes. So
With indexes.
what index is this?
0.
What index is this?
1.
So knowing that, how do we fix our add function? No. Ah. That's not how this works. Alright.
I forgot.
Alright. So what are these? What's the point of parameters? They're placeholders. So they hold the value for something that doesn't exist yet until we pass it in. So this is our argument. The 3, 4 is our argument. So we need a placeholder. So in yesterday's example, it was my array placeholder, so that we can access the 3 and the 4. When we call it, we put a value into it. When we are defining the function, it is a placeholder. Do you understand?
So this should be in here.
What?
Wait, so this could just be A.
That could just be it. It could be anything as long as it's not another keyword.
Okay.
Okay, so now how do we add these 2 values from the array, knowing what we know now?
A0 plus A1. I don't know, I forget everything.
How do you access array indexes?
I forget.
What are these? This defines an array.
Brackets.
Now how do we access our array from index 0 and index 1? Remember, this is our array. This is jumping into here. A has the value of array 3 and 4. So we have to use A. This is where we're getting the value.
Yeah.
Goes. It's so the way that you get it is use the bracket notation. Remember bracket notation? Yo, man, I need a barrel of coffee a day. I don't know if that's for me or her to drink the barrel of coffee. Okay, so what are we forgetting here in our return statement? We need to end our returns with a semicolon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what is this?
Keyword.
What is this?
Name.
What is this?
Parameter.
What are we doing here?
Giving parameter value.
Correct, but what is this whole thing doing? We are calling a function.
Calling a function.
And what is this value called that goes into the parameter? Starts with an A. It's not an array either. I told you it's not array. It wasn't a trick statement. It's arguments. These are the arguments that go into the parameter, okay? Alright, so what does return do?
Prints out.
Doesn't print out.
No. It
Exactly what it sounds like. It returns this value.
Okay.
And so in our example here, if we were to below say var add ex is equal to add function, and we put 1 and 2, which is an array in this case, what is the value of add ex?
Add function.
We're passing in, so we're calling the function, and what does the function do? It calculates the value of A0 and A1,
Yeah.
and it sets it to add ex, because we're returning that value. Returning. We're
So we're
setting
returning this value.
Return is returning this value here. So add ex, we're calling a function that does what? It adds two numbers together from the array. So what is the value of our variable here?
Say that again.
So we're creating a variable and we're setting it equal to the call of the function we just defined.
Sorry, I was Milo distracted.
Okay, so we have our function. What's our function here do? Let's start there.
It
Takes in an array and it does what with it?
returns whatever you have it set to.
Okay, it returns the combination of A0 and A1. Do you know what it means to return? It sends it back. It takes this value, so in this case here, it's 1 and 2, and it sends it back to wherever you called it. In this case, we're setting the value of the variable equal to it. So when we call...
So this is a new variable.
Yes. And we're
add x. This is the new variable that gets this return added to this.
So we're calling the function. And when we call
Okay,
it...
when we're calling the function, we're not getting that anymore. We're getting this.
This is a new call. Forget about this one. This one, we don't care about that one. All we care about is add ex. What's add ex do?
It's equal to the return of this.
Yes, it's equal to the return of this. So in our example here where we have array 1 and 2, what is add ex when we call that function add?
It's this.
Okay, what is that value?
It's 7.
What is that value?
It's an array of 1 and 2.
So what is add EX?
7 and an array of 1 and 2.
Why?
Because it's returning this value to here. So that's the new add value, and then you're adding this to it as well.
No. There's no new add value. This is not a variable. This is a function. What's getting returned, baby, is this is not returning it to add. It's returning it to the variable here. So when I say, if I were to have
so 7 is getting pushed down to here.
What is 7?
7 is the original value that you gave this.
All right,
that was 0 and 1 array.
You're misunderstanding. You're making crazy jumps right now. So, all right. So let me show you. I'm going to call this function and assume that we're setting the variable that var ex1 is equal to add with an array of 1 and 2. Okay. And then we're going to create another variable called ex2. And we're going to set this equal to add 3 and 5. So what you're saying is, or what you think is that when I call this function add 1 and 2, it's going to return 3, right?
Right.
ex1 is equal to 3. But based off what you're saying is this is going to be 3 plus 8, and so ex2 is going to be 11. No.
I'm saying it's going to be next to each other. It's not going to add it because why would you add it? There's no function to add it.
So what is the value of ex2?
It's a new value.
And what is that?
It's whatever this is to this.
No, no, it isn't. I don't know how you're getting there.
Because add is getting a new value, which is
but that's big
3
and 5.
No, 3 from here and this.
What I'm trying to tell you is add doesn't have a value. This is a placeholder. So when we call the function again, this a is equal to 3 and the array 3 and 5. And all we're returning is 3.
Okay, wait. Okay. So you're saying forget this.
Yes.
Okay, so add function is got an a in it to call out the array.
The placeholder, the parameter, right?
The parameter. And so our variable ex1 goes into this placeholder and it gets returned with this statement.
Yes, it sends back the value right there.
Sends back the value. Okay, now we have a value of 3.
Yes. ex1 is 3, not add.
ex1 is 3.
Yes.
But that is giving add its value.
No, add doesn't have a value, baby. That's what I'm telling you. Is you're treating a function as if it's a variable. It's not. Do you see an assignment operating?
Okay. All right. So ex1 gets its value, which is 3.
Yes.
And it's done.
Yes. ex1 has a value of 3. That's all that function did when we called it.
So now, when we give another variable
ex2,
and it has 3
and 5,
it gets its return back of 8.
Okay.
And then if you add another one,
ex3 in this case,
ex3
with an array in it of 2 values, what is it? Give me 2 values.
I don't know.
3, 2 and 2. So what is ex3?
4.
Good.
So it stops. This is it. This is all
That's
that
it.
happens.
Oh.
The value goes right back to its variable.
In this case, because of the return statement. That's what it
And
means.
then that's it. That stops.
That's it. All this
There's
function.
no break or nothing. That just
No, return exits out of the function with this value. And what
back to its variable.
Yeah. So imagine we call this function. This is saying, hey, right here, I'll draw it in orange. Here, we're saying, hey, this value 0 and 2, that goes into A. We say, okay, A right now, when we call this, is 0 and 2. And then we're saying, hey, we want to add,
Yeah, it's like
or excuse
fucking
me,
algebra.
1 and 2. And then we say, hey, we want to add A1 and A2. And they say, okay, thanks, and then we send it back and we set the value of EX1.
It's fucking algebra. Fucking hate algebra.
Alright.
And then you know.
Alright, so normally we take questions at this point. I want to go over for loops.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to click, you guys.
Okay.
You want to go over for loops?
Yes. Do you remember
Ugh.
for loops, or do you want to hold off? Do you want? Why don't let me explain for loops to you in 5 minutes, and then because tomorrow's section you'll be going over for loops. Or do you just want to do it on your own tomorrow?
No, let's go over it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So a for loop. What's the point of a for loop? The point of a for loop is to run some code between our for loop scope as many times as our statement is true. So in our case, we'll create a usually you'll create an iterator. We'll start off at 0 in this case. And we'll say something like, while 0 is less than 3. While this is a true statement, this is our statement. While this is true, while I is less than 3.
Okay, so for our for loop, what does a for loop do again?
It runs the code that's within its scope right here, within the curly braces, as many times as this statement is true.
Yes, okay. So for the for loop, can go as many times as it needs to, not just 4 times.
Godless Monk is telling you to study chapter 18, by the way.
Yes. Yes. I keep meaning to, and I keep running out of time because I am prioritizing very badly these days. I plan to. Okay, so var is my variable.
And why do we create this?
To initiate a value or a...
We create it to help keep track of how many times we want our for loop to run. And then here, we create a statement using this value.
Mm,
And then here, it says how many times we increase said value.
because that gives us how many times it goes
For
through.
each iteration. So let's say all we wanted to do was console.log, which does what again?
Prints.
Okay. And so now, first loop, what is this printing out?
0.
Cool. Second loop, what is this printing out?
1.
Third loop, what is this printing out?
2.
Fourth loop, what is it printing out?
Nothing.
Good. And then what happens? So it doesn't print out 3 because 2 is less than 3, but 3 is equal to 3. And then we continue on with our code. So tomorrow, after you continue on with your for loops, we are going to take that problem we had and we're going to make it a little bit harder. You're going to have to use a for loop. Okay? Alright, guys. Man, this is tiring for me for some reason today. It's got nothing to do with you. I'm just tired and burnt out.
Yeah, right. It's got nothing to do with me.
You're the highlight of my life, baby. Except on payday. Paydays. No, alright. Did I miss any questions? Okay, guys. So, you're doing better today. We've been studying this we've been going over the same stuff. I'm hoping tomorrow that you get the for loops on your own. That's what I'm hoping. And so tomorrow's, let's talk about what I want you to do. You're able to accomplish basically what I asked. Now you'll be in control flow. Although it looks like you might have to finish up variables. You did this section, variables?
Yeah, go click on
Okay,
it. Let me see it.
This is on my account, so we'd have to log into yours. So tomorrow I want you to do control flow and functions and scope, the very first section. Okay? Functions and control flow. So James Scott says, I have my first freelance client, not sure what to charge, and also do you have any tips for me? How were you able to get a freelance client without knowing what to charge? Because usually money is the biggest indicator? Well, if it's your first, man, I would say if you really want the business, and the hardest thing to do when you're just starting out, guys, is get clients and build a portfolio. And there's a benefit to you having a portfolio. So if you can charge relatively low for your first client, build that project out, and add it to your portfolio. And then when they come back to you and they need additional help, just tell them, like, if you're able, or if you are afraid of losing a client, don't do this. But one thing that I've done in the past is I will increase my rates once I have a couple of other clients. Be like, hey, the $10 an hour I charged, which is what I charged on some clients.
Always put a disclaimer when you first set up your prices that...
Don't do that.
Why?
Because then they may not go with you.
Mm.
So just explain to them that, hey, I'm charging $20, $25 an hour, $30, $40, $50 an hour. But my advice is if it's really your first client, depending on the project as well. But if it's just like, hey, I just want you to do some web content management, or hey, I just want you to build a simple web page for me, a lot of times on those first clients, they're going to want you to charge a flat rate, if anything. So it just depends on what your time is worth. And Dan Barrett's right as well about not shortchanging yourself. I was always more interested in building a portfolio and getting experience, which is why because that to me is significantly more valuable. If I have 0 relevant resume experience, what I would like to have is 1 relevant portfolio item. And even though maybe I got paid half of what I should have, that item gives me a lot more. Do I give out business cards? I have business cards. My work has had them made. They're so dope looking too. I wish I could show them to you. They're very professional, very nice quality and everything, and it makes me look really legit.
Even the box that it comes in is very...
My dad took one home. That was one of the things where I could tell he was impressed that I had a business card.
He's like, proof my son works!
Yeah. I know I look like a degenerate in like this gaming shirt and everything, but I have a real job, I swear. Yeah, I wish I could show them to you.
Business cards are always a good idea.
But yeah, I mean, it makes you look nicer, and you can get them relatively cheap. You can get I think you get like 100 of them for like $20. So if it's something that would make you feel more confident, but in all honesty, most people only use business cards to pick up chicks anyhow. It's a casual way of business people. That's how it's.
If a guy handed me a business card, I'd be like, "What are you trying to do? A deal?"
No, this is what you do is you write your number on it and say, hey, if you talk. No. That's how the older people do it.
Man.
Do you even code brochure? That's a great idea. I'm going to actually write that down. So, you see that? Do you even code? I double code, bro.
Yeah, we could tell. The lack of math.
Lack of math? Look at these. Oh.
I have a picture from when we first started dating. You should see it. It's a washboard abs.
Don't be starting nothing. Alright guys, I appreciate this. I have to get back to my own grind. I have 60 algorithms to solve. I only solved 2 of them after work today. I'm also excited to... Yeah, the no flex zone. Just wait. Yeah, my scope is bigger than yours. Do you even code, bro? That's a good shirt. I like that. I'll talk to my graphic designer about it, and maybe I'll do a limited run where you guys can buy it, and I can make a few bucks in the process. But anyhow, so thank you guys for watching. It's been fun. I think you're doing much better today than you were yesterday.
Well, I didn't cry today, so that was good.
If you guys...
My frustrated levels are low.
Yeah. You did much better today.
Yeah, we'll put a little tribute to James Scott, like quotes. James Scott.
I'm a dev in the UK. Would you be interested in talking some more? What do you want to talk about, man? So, I mean, that's a pretty out there thing.
I I tap that code? Wouldn't it be like I console log that code?
You print that code?
Print, yeah, return. Get in my scope.
Struggling through React. Any suggestions on where to go? There's actually 2 React courses on Codecademy that are fairly decent. I did the first one. I was able to start building projects in it. Other than that, there's a lot of great YouTube tutorials, man. People don't really take advantage of watching those whole YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, the terminology for me is important too. Otherwise, I don't understand what needs to be applied via circumstances. It's just like algebra. So if you don't have any like actual hard code to work with, and you just need the terminology to make sure that the logic works, and you can keep continuing to use the logic despite whatever values you put into it, you have to know what it is that you need to create with the words and structure and all the terminology that builds that. So
Dan Barrett, you can email me at dylansemail310@gmail.com if you're interested in talking about some stuff.
You want to type that in there?
It's like literally the simplest email that there could be. It's my name, plural, email 310. If you can't get that right...
Dylan's name 310@gmail.com.
Dylan's email 310.
Well, you could be slurring your words.
If he can't figure it out, I don't want to know his ideas, because that's a simple email. That's the truth. That's so simple.
Who knows math? Do I know math? God knows. Why I have an English degree.
And I know math.
I mean, I don't know. I could know math.
All right, guys. I gotta wrap this up because I have things I need to work on. Thank you for watching. And if you want to support me, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. We just got the 4K monitors. I still need to get the 4K webcam. And I actually ordered some new lights. And we're going to be painting in the new office the green screen wall back. So I'm throwing some money towards the channel. If you want to help me out so that we can release great stuff and continue improving, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. But above all, because I know most of us are broke, I don't expect too many people on Patreon. Join the Facebook group, Code Tech and Caffeine. When we release cool things like the Do You Even Code Bro shirt, the first place it's going to drop will be the Facebook group. So I hope you guys check that out. I appreciate you all. And thank you for being here on the 21-day journey. We've had a lot of the same people probably struggling through the same things as April is, and understand her plight probably better than I do at this point. But here we are, continuing on and going through the grind. Anything you want to say before you get out here?
Code long and prosper.
Later.